it seems that when you're watching it as a very sort of organic tangents all brought back together. How did it start? I mean, did you start knowing that's what you wanted, or how did this project begin?
Well, we had done a movie last year called The End of Cruising, and a bit of that was here, Tom's Gift. And Kurt came up. We had asked people for their sexual experiences because it was a movie that told different people's experience, little short films. And Kurt came up and said he had great experiences to tell us. And I thought, wow, you have more than a short film, you have a long film. So we engaged him at that point to create this. We did a lot of research about the legality of sex and how they actually managed to open. And then we engaged that conversation with all of the people, and we wound up cutting them all together, and it became a very, very linear and kind of, it worked very, very, very well.
Yeah, I think we had, that was our original plan, was to sort of start with, entering the hoist and having a tour of it and seeing what goes on there. But at the same time, we're going through history as we go through the hoist. So that was our intention from the beginning.
I'm just wondering, because you're both, well, you've lived in London, but you're kind of looking at it from the outside. Do you think that was an advantage in making a film like this, to be not from here? Is that helpful, or?
I think in some ways it was, yes, because we could sort of look at it from a different perspective, from sort of a distance.
I think especially as New Yorkers, where we lived through the AIDS crisis, where all of the bathhouses and all the clubs are closed, and there's nothing like this there any longer. And I had been a patron of the hoist, and I came here once, and I didn't have my leather once, and I wasn't let in. So I was always very, very, interested in the place. And when Kurt came up to us, and we had this history behind us, we saw a story to tell. Probably.
I mean, we do have a censored version, but I really hate documentaries about sex that don't have sex in them. I mean, this is not a movie for kids. We can all watch sex and, deal with it. So, for me, it was important that we have some of the sex that happens in the club in the film. So if it doesn't show some places because of that, then, that's too bad for them. I'm not going to cut it out for that. I mean, we do have a censored version, but it's a little bit different.
Wouldn't you be disappointed if it wasn't there?
Yeah, I mean, you gotta throw some sex in there.
I think it is more European. There are sex clubs still that exist in the States. I know there are backroom bars in Chicago, but they're kind of, they're illegal in New York, so they get busted, and so it's kind of a running thing, almost like cruising was. You can, do it here for a while until people get upset, and then it moves on. That's why the hoist is so interesting, because it's been there doing the same thing for 18 years. No apologies.
Yeah, and like especially in New York, it's interesting because you have the Eagle, like the leather bar in New York, but if you engage in any kind of sexual activity there, they'll throw you out. I mean, they really police that place. So it's almost like an anti-sex leather bar. It's very strange.
It's a rondelay where, you try and they chase you away. And it really was not like that like 15 years ago. They used to have a dedicated back room, so it has changed. I don't think that the leather community is dying, but I think it is less popular than it was before. And the reasons that we have gone into it, naked is a new thing, and people didn't have it before. So now it is new and more exciting than leather. And as Ashley said, it is cheaper to do sports gear. So if that's getting more people into the clubs, then that's what the clubs need to do. This isn't saying, and in the club, in the movie, we do say that there are popular leather nights, and they're probably the most popular, but they're more like circuit party things. So they don't happen every night, but
Yeah.
they might happen 4 times a year instead of monthly now.
I think for many people, leather has become this thing that you do on a special occasion. Like we just had Charles was just at the Black Party in New York, and everyone, wears leather for that. But they do that once a year, and it's the one thing they do that's leather. You're here in leather, so are we, and there's lots of people here in leather. I mean, leather will always be something, but it's not the same as it was. It's great that Backstreets and other clubs are surviving and doing well.
But I think that's all part of the assimilation of gay culture into the mainstream culture as well. I mean, 20 years ago, leather was quite outre, and now it isn't. You see it on TV, you see it in fashion ads, so it's been exploited. It's been used for other purposes than its original intention, and that's what assimilation is.